Hey, welcome to the Peak of Geek, where we've hit the top but with no plans to stop. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have found David Lynch, the video game, and it's called Immortality. But first, a quick history lesson on this love him or hate him filmmaker.
David Lynch is an American filmmaker and artist born in 1946. He originally studied painting before falling in love with the motion picture and switching gears to short films in the late 1960s. His first full-length film was the cult classic Eraserhead in 1977, a surrealist film that arguably created its own subgenre fans would dub lynchian, referring to films that are characterized by dream imagery and meticulous sound design.
He would go on to direct the Oscar-nominated The Elephant Man, the box office bomb Dune, and co-create one of the greatest television series of all time with Twin Peaks. He would proceed to work on other various film, TV, and art projects over the years, including Mulholland Drive, a neo-noir mystery film that I cannot recommend enough.
His most recent on-screen project was Twin Peaks: The Return in 2017, a series that served as a sequel to the cliffhanger ending of the original, but then, in pure David Lynch fashion, ended up creating even more mysteries for us to solve. In recent years, he's been delivering weather reports, picking random numbers from 1 to 10, popping up in the odd film, and continuing to live that art life. Just on canvas and not celluloid these days.
There's a foreboding atmosphere and intense sense of dread that permeates throughout a David Lynch project, whether it's a painting, a short film, or a feature-length motion picture. And that's something that's rarely replicated well in the interactive medium.
The original Silent Hill trilogy, especially that unforgettable sequel, are one of the rare examples of horror video games that truly understand this idea and execute it perfectly.
And that brings us to today's subject, Sam Barlow.
Game designer Sam Barlow got his horror start as lead designer and writer at Climax Studios, where he worked on Silent Hill Origins, a pretty good prequel that had its moments, and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, a reimagining of the first game that added interesting elements like those memorable therapist interactions, but leaned a bit more into conventional horror with sequences where the monsters would chase you that unfortunately got old pretty fast.
Fortunately, in my personal opinion anyway, Barlow left Climax Studios in 2014 to become an indie game developer, where he started writing and directing full motion video, or FMV-style games including Her Story, Telling Lies, and most recently, Immortality.
Each of these games feature a unique style of gameplay which involve watching short live-action video clips, clicking on specific interactive elements, finding more clips, and repeating the process until you slowly start to understand what's really going on.
While Her Story and Telling Lies allowed the player to click on certain keywords to find more clips, Immortality drastically improves on this concept.
With Immortality, you're able to click on people, including faces and hands in various poses or situations, or pretty much any other object you see on the screen. You can fast forward, rewind, and there's even more ways to interact with the footage, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
For now, let's talk about the story of Immortality, and why it feels so Lynchian.
Alright, I do need to preface this first. Immortality is a very adult game, with many adult scenes and language, so we'll be skipping over that content for obvious reasons.
With that out of the way, Immortality tells the story of Marissa Marcel, a fictional model-turned-actress who starred in 3 films from 1968 to 1999 that were never actually released. And then she mysteriously disappeared. What happened to Marissa? What happened to the films? Is there a connection? I mean, probably.
To solve this mystery, you'll watch out-of-context videos that include filmed scenes from each movie, complete with a member of the crew slapping the slate, behind-the-scenes moments during production, including casting and rehearsals, and interview clips from on set, or, typical for the time period, late-night television guest appearances. The attention to detail in each category of clips is staggering. The visual and audio design perfectly represent each time period and situation, and if you're a fellow classic film buff, this game will be your next obsession.
When I first started playing Immortality, I noticed a strange feeling come over me. The incredible music, which you'll be hearing in the background throughout this video, combined with the period-style video clips to create a very particular mood. It's hard to describe, but something just felt off.
There's a similar feeling when you first start watching a David Lynch film, or that first episode of Twin Peaks. Everything seems okay and normal for the most part, but you get the feeling that something sinister is bubbling just beneath the surface. This is where my David Lynch alarm first started going off, and it continued to ring louder the more and more I went down the rabbit hole that is this game. Any fan of Lynch's work will know that many of his projects center on a woman in trouble, including Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire, among others. The same theme runs all throughout Immortality. You know something bad happened to Marissa Marcel, just like you know something bad happened to Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks. And the journey to find out what may lead you somewhere you don't want to go. Adding to that, Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire both feature actresses who find themselves in a terrible situation. Combine these themes with Immortality's atmospheric sound design, and you have a project that may have been directed by David Lynch himself.
If you've never been on a film set, it's a place where emotions can run very high. And just like any line of work, difficult people make for difficult experiences.
Many of the actors who've worked with David Lynch often talk about how amazing an experience making a movie with him can be, and you can see some of that movie magic on display in Immortality. A lot of the scenes show the characters having fun, being silly, and falling in love. But sometimes tensions run high or awkward. Regardless, I found myself impressively invested in these characters, and so much of that is testament to the incredible actors involved in this project.
Manon Gage is absolutely incredible as Marissa Marcel. Her performance as Marissa and as Marissa performing these other characters, it's worth the price of the game alone.
I will definitely be keeping an eye out for her in future projects, because just wow. I also have to single out Hans Christopher as John Durick and Ty Mulback as Carl Greenwood. But honestly, amazing performances all around. I wouldn't say there's a bad actor in the bunch.
There is one more performance we have to talk about, and for those who know where I'm going with this, we have to get into spoiler territory. We won't go over everything, but there is a specific twist that we must address. I can't stress enough that you should play this game blind. For those who still want to, skip to the time code to jump to the end. Okay, you've been warned. Either way, we'll see you at the wrap-up. Alright, here's how I figured it out. I was halfway through the second movie, and the controller vibrated, and it played this weird sound again. I knew the game was telling me to pay attention to these specific clips, but I wasn't sure what to do.
And I finally did it. By accident. Here's how it works. Early in the game, it's explained to you that you can use the left analog stick to fast forward or rewind clips in faster or slower intervals. Anyway, when the controller vibrates, shift the left analog stick to the left once to see the video rewind in super slow motion. You may have to feather it back and forth a bit until you see it, but when you do... Wait, what? There's another clip hidden here? Once you see it fade in the background, you can then hold the left D-pad to start playing the hidden clip in reverse.
This is arguably where the game begins and why it became one of the best I played this year. And yes, this is how you really find out what happened to Marissa Marcel. If you haven't had the pleasure yet, let me introduce you to the one.
I won't go into details on who I think this is, but let's just say she exists within Marissa. She's able to interact with some of the other characters, but most times you find her speaking directly to the camera. And it's very, very unsettling. This is why this is a horror game. This is why I'm so reminded of David Lynch's work. The way Charlotte Molan as the One commands the screen and your attention as the player is breathtaking. Every hidden clip you find with her, another character called the Other, or any other mysterious character you're able to seek out is worth hunting down.
This is where you may want to walk through because some of those clips are so well hidden. Okay, I'm going to end the spoiler talk here with a small clip of my absolute favorite moment in the game. Good luck hunting for it.
I'm gonna watch the bluebirds fly over my shoulder.
Earlier this year, Immortality won Best Narrative at the British Academy Game Awards, an annual celebration put on by the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, or BAFTA. Let's just say it was very well deserved.
The game was critically acclaimed when it initially launched in August of 2022 on Windows and the Xbox series of consoles, then again when it released on Mac, And then once again when it released on Android and Apple devices as published by Netflix? Wait, Netflix publishes games now? Yeah, apparently. As long as you're comfortable with adult content on the level of something like Game of Thrones, I implore you to play this game. There's so many ways to do so, you have no excuse. And it's something that I'll never forget. And it's the closest you'll get to playing through a David Lynch project. Unless you count that upcoming PS1 style fan game based on Twin Peaks.
No, I'm serious. It's called Twin Peaks Into the Night, and it plays like classic Silent Hill or Resident Evil, complete with puzzles and tank controls. I played through a demo recently, and I really hope the team finishes it.
If you're curious, I'll leave a link to the project in the description box below.
I'm really looking forward to what Sam Barlow does next. I hope he stays within the surrealist horror genre, because he seems to be one of the few creators who actually gets it. But what do you think? What scares or unsettles you or fills you with dread? Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, try not to mysteriously disappear